Hello and welcome to the Being and Becoming podcast. Together, we're being honest in conversations about thoughts we're having and books we're reading in the hopes of becoming better, more able versions of our current selves. My name is Logan Howard. I have the pleasure to be joined today by our first ever return guest to the show, Ryan Schwartz. Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Doing well. Yeah, thanks for coming back on. And
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, I think you came on the show last year. Uh, Maybe like April or May of 23, if anyone wants to go and check that out. But appreciate you coming back on. And yeah, I always value your insights, and you're a critical and deep thinker. So I appreciate your perspective and your time.
Yeah, it's always fun being able to talk to other people that can think that way too. Because I don't know if you've had the same experience, but not everyone is very open to deep conversation. I think it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And so
Yeah.
it's always nice finding other people that enjoy that style of conversation. So
Oh, for sure. And I think it also helps too to have a friendship or to know the person. I think that makes it easier to open up and be vulnerable, or because I think that's a big part of it, is part of thinking deeply or being creative requires or necessitates a certain kind of vulnerability that is not easy or accessible, I think, to most people. So
oh, for sure.
yeah. But I figured I'd just kind of start off here by asking you what's going on, what's been new. I mean, it's been a year since we've talked last. Like, what have you been thinking about and reading? Like, maybe give us a little bit of an update.
Yeah. A lot has happened in the past year. I forget if I talked about anything that was even going on at the time that we recorded the first time I was on here. Because even at that time, I'll just give a brief overcap of my last year, which has been a big life altering series of events. But in March of 2023, uh, my ex-wife had been in a car accident, had broken her elbow and her knee, and was in a wheelchair. And I was taking care of her at that time. I think that we recorded that episode. But since then, stuff went down with our relationship. We ended up separating in November of last year. So it's been 7 months now since then. So there was a lot of processing and healing I'm still doing, but uh got to experience a lot of new things as a human being, that maybe not pleasant, but very grateful for.
Yeah, I'm sorry that all those things have happened to you, and um, I think something that we've talked about here that has stuck with me on the show is that, I think as a person, as an individual, you want to do as much as you can to alleviate the suffering that you're imposing on other people. And um, I think it's just difficult when things don't work out, or obviously people might not feel the same way. And you know um, yeah, it's the lessons and the stuff that you've been going through. Do not wish on anybody. And but I would be curious to hear maybe some takeaways, or maybe there are some people even listening to this show now that are going through a similar thing with a close relationship. So I wasn't sure if you could speak to that at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I don't. There's so much help, self-help stuff all over, and you can figure out what they say to do in those. But when you're in it, it's a bit different. Because I knew what I should do to heal and process to the best of my ability, and it's takes a lot of self-control to do blocking or just unfriending social media, just removing contact. When you've spent so much time with a person, it is really weird to then just go just cut it off cold turkey and go into an existence where you're just not interacting with that person anymore. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, there's everyone kind of has the ideas of what you're supposed to do, and those do work. But I think my main thing that I was doing was just trying to remind myself of what I know to be true. Because what happens in those experiences when you're having like the anxiety and depression and all that stuff that comes with just like emotional overload, your brain starts telling you a lot of things that just aren't true. And you know they aren't true, but you buy into them when you're feeling that way. And so my biggest thing was just trying to have another voice in my head, being consciously aware and having this other voice that could speak against the other one that was saying how bad things were, and just remind me of those, but also like encouraging, trying to tell myself that I'm okay. I might not feel okay, and that's okay. This is just a temporary thing. Like what other people would tell you, I was just like trying to tell myself in my head whenever I'd get into those points. And I think that's helped a lot. And I still have days where it's just seems overwhelming with how much I'm like I said this when we were talking before, but I was with her for 11 years. We had started dating when we were 16, got married at 21, and now I'm 27. And when you've spent all that time with a certain person, like just one specific person, there are triggers everywhere. There's so many things that can remind you of memories with that person because you have so many memories with that person. And so I'll still have days where it just seems like those triggers are just kind of overwhelming. And I still have to tell myself, I'm like, it's okay to be feeling this way. Like rather than pushing away those feelings, that usually the idea of pushing something away is you're doing the same thing as if you were holding on to it really tightly. Pushing away and holding on tight are just two sides of the same coin.
Hmm.
But just accepting and feeling and not trying to push it away. Like you can want to feel better, but just knowing like this is for a reason. Like experiencing things is a good thing. I've gotten to
Yeah.
the point where I, like I said, I'm grateful because I haven't gotten to have that experience before. And while it's like in the moment is terrible, uh, I see suffering of that sort to be almost necessary to be able to appreciate the other good things in life. Like when you get sick and you forget what it's like to be able to breathe out of both your nostrils, and then you get well again, you're like, oh my word, I remember how nice it is that I was taking this for granted. Uh, Experiences like that where suffering give you a new like perspective of appreciation for the good things in life. I
Yeah,
think
man.
having positivity and just like reminding yourself, even if you don't believe it at the time, still telling yourself those things was the biggest thing that I did that I think helped.
Wow. Yeah, I think the perspective is so important, like you're saying, because you could. I mean, the temptation is to wallow in
Mm-hmm.
and to have take pity on yourself and to make excuses and whatnot. But
Yeah, there's almost a comfort in it. Like it was almost nice to just like lay in bed and cry and just
right,
kind of do nothing because I definitely had a span of time where I was just in bed after work and then going to work, coming back home, getting into bed, just like over and over again, just kind of sitting in it.
yeah. I mean, I can only imagine. That's like I think it's good that you were being honest with yourself too, and like on those days, that's what you needed to do, and you you weren't trying to avoid because like you were saying about the pushing away and the what was it, the ignoring
Pushing away and holding on tight
and
to
holding on tight.
something.
Sorry,
Yeah.
two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Because I know, and I think my personality would be quick to push or to push
Yeah,
away
me
or
too.
something. Yeah,
That's definitely
so
mine.
that's I mean I just think that that's you know better, like you said, better in the long run. You're able to hold on to it a little bit tighter, to sit with it, process it, and then I mean now we were talking a little bit before, but now not that healing's a linear thing or that like you're all the way done with it, but it seems like you're in a lot healthier, stable place.
Yeah, yeah, it's gotten a lot better than it was. I mean, still, like I said, there's bad days. And I still have those moments where I just want to push away. It's just like I just want to be happy. Like, why am I not past this now? Like,
Hmm.
why isn't this over? Like, it's been so long that I've been feeling terrible. Like, why can't this just be done? And that's kind of the pushing away that I feel. And it's like, no, I need to just accept that this is still happening. And that's just part of the process, and that it's
Yeah,
for the best.
man. I think that's crazy that you can have that good of a perspective in such a short period of time. Like, um, yeah, I'm really honestly just quite quite moved by that, you know. And thank you for being honest and sharing that too. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I guess are there any like physical or literal things that like help you cope with either the stress or the emotion of any of that? Is there like I guess what are your outlets that you like turn to?
Yeah. Yeah. Big one that I have been doing like every day if it's nice out. I just go on walks in like
Mm,
parks. I like being out in nature and like trees and stuff, and so I've got a nice park around here that every day if it's nice out after work, I'll just go and walk for like an hour or so. I just put in my AirPods and listen to music and walk around the woods and think. That's kind of my processing time. I feel like I process a lot of stuff when I'm walking.
yeah.
It's kind of saying like back at Anderson, I don't know if you ever walked it, but we had that labyrinth on campus. Uh it was kind of out of the way. Not many people saw it. But we had it was just like lines on the ground. It wasn't like walls or anything. But it's a labyrinth, so one way in, one way out, no dead ends. But you just could walk through it, get to the center, and it's the idea of like pilgrimage, of walking meditation. And I used to
Very
walk
cool.
that every like morning during one of the years there. I had a spiritual formation class, and oh man, I forget his name. His name was like Arthur something though. I'm
I had
sorry.
no idea that there was a labyrinth of any kind on campus. That would have been cool.
Yeah, I just came back to Indiana not too long ago to like visit some people and visited some friends in Anderson, and so I had stopped by campus and walked it again like
That's
a
awesome.
month or two ago.
Is there any do you notice any kind of difference in even just the physical rhythm of doing that? Is it similar to the routine you had while you're at school?
Oh yeah, yeah, like walking like I don't know if like people walk in different ways if they just like for me it is like a meditative act. Like
Hmm.
when I go on a walk, I like try to be really mindful of what's going on in my head and like also just taking in everything that's around me at the same time. I really enjoy just like going on walks or hikes if they're not too brutal. I've been on some hikes where I was just dead by the end of it. I was like, I don't want to do that again.
I bet are there a lot of good because there's like a mountain range right through South Carolina. Is there a lot of good hiking
Yeah.
trails and
Oh
stuff down there?
yeah. Oh yeah. Like maybe not like right here in Greenville, but like if you've heard of Asheville, Asheville's up in the mountains. That's like
Yep.
an hour away from me.
Oh, okay.
So like there's a lot of good hiking spots within an hour of me that
Do you
are
remember
really cool.
Blake Clatterbuck who went to AU?
I don't know. Probably if I saw him.
He was in Dunn Hall, but yeah, shout out Blake. He's one of my good friends, but he moved down there about a year ago to Asheville. Him and his wife, she got placed in a residency for medical school down there. So, but yeah, it feels like it's like that up and coming place. You know, a lot of people are moving.
Yeah. I was just looking at like best cities to live or something on some different websites, and Greenville was like ranking in the top 10. It's weird.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Strange. Their marketing team must be doing something right. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but no, I part of the reason I'm curious too about the walking and the meditative state that you said that you like to try to be in when you're doing that is I'm actually reading a book right now called Stolen Focus by
Hmm.
Johan Hari. I think that's how you say his name, and it's all about him basically being too plugged into his phone, the internet, all that stuff, and then he spends 3 months kind of like unwinding that, and he's able to think more clearly, able to read for longer, maintain a better focus, and all that sort of thing. So it's been
That's cool.
interesting reading that book and kind of noticing that I find myself rushing through things instead of maybe sitting with them, or even not even like a big emotional event or like a big life altering event, but even just like my day to day minutia. I'm just trying
Mhm.
to get through it instead of like sitting with it, um or even just, I think when I'm at my personal best, just being creative, I let my mind wander, and you know, uh, I'm engaged, but yeah, it's almost like meditative. I don't quite know, but
Right.
I found myself just very task focused and very this and this and this and checking stuff off the list, um, and getting easily distracted, not remembering things too well. So I'm trying to be a little more mindful about unplugging from the phone, being a little slower, not needing to get as many things done, or I don't need to listen to this podcast while I do this thing because I'm not really listening to that, and I'm not really doing the thing either if I'm trying to do them both at the same time.
Right.
So
That's fair. Yeah. 3 months would be a long time to like unplug. I would do like in school, I did it for different reasons, but at Anderson, every so often, I don't know how often I did. I did it like 4 different times throughout like a year, which was I would take a week where I just wouldn't use any entertainment media. Like I could still use my computer because I was in school. I needed to use my computer. But I
yep.
told myself like no gaming systems, no TV, no movies. Uh the only entertainment you can do would be like reading or like hanging out with people. And so I would do like a week at a time and just do no entertainment media. And I got so ahead in school. I just did homework for like 4 hours each day or more. Got really ahead and was like reading through books. Yeah, the whole social part didn't happen very often. It was mainly the reading the books and doing homework.
Except for when we would text you, "Hey Ryan, come play cajon or come play piano." Or
Good times. Yeah, I've played in a few. I tell people I played in a few different bands. I don't let them know like exactly what the setup was. If it was just an acoustic guitar and a cajon, that's still a band.
Yeah, right. Playing outside of Lowe's for their vendors. That
I still
yeah,
tell people about that. That's my best and only. No, we had multiple paid gigs, but that was a paid gig that we did in a Lowe's parking lot.
yeah. That one was for
That's
the
the best
books for
one.
sure. That was like one of the best ones, and like I think we did it the first year was before you came to AU, I think, and then we
Yeah.
did it one year, and we're like, oh, we got to get Ryan to play and like actually have a little more full sound, like cajon, just kind of make it sound like something. And it was too empty. It was two acoustic guitars the first year, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a little too
You
empty.
need
So
some other rhythm and some lower frequencies in there.
for sure, for sure. So yeah, that I mean, I probably talked about that on the podcast before, but yeah, that's to this day is one of my favorite gigs, even though no one listened. No one listened to a single a
Absolutely.
single
Yeah.
note
No one
we
even
played.
looked over at us. There was
Yeah,
only like a few people actually like there that weren't working it felt like. It
yeah,
felt like there was just like a handful of people that were actually going to those different tents and stuff.
right. It was everybody was kind of had their own station, their own tent, but there weren't many people like moving around from one to the
No, they were
other.
all kind of staying at the same place, and us just over on the side. We didn't have our own tent, unfortunately. Everyone else
We were
had
out in the
sun
sun.
cover. We were just out there on the concrete.
Our wood's warping in real time as we're playing. We're playing. Um, but yeah, no, that was fun, and like we would have like about an hour and a half worth of music, and it would go for 3 or 4 hours. So then it was like, all right, let's run the set list again and just
Yeah,
like
just go right back through.
play everything again. That was a good time.
I found that set list not too long ago because I still had it in my cajon case. I saw the set. I was like, oh my word! I should have like framed it or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you sent me a picture of it, and I still
Yeah.
have it on my phone because I'm like, oh my gosh, just so funny to because I even like half the songs I'm like, what was that? Like
Right.
we just like put it together like the day of, like I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't even remember that song or anything, but
Yeah. So I tell people, like, when I mention you to any of my friends, I say we played in a few bands together in college. Sounds really cool.
Yeah. It was a paid gig too.
It
Yeah.
was a paid gig. We
Couple
did
paid
that
gigs. Yeah.
like coffee house thing in the apartments, whatever that was called, with like why can't I remember people's names? Evan Carr.
Oh, Evan Carr. Yeah,
Shout out Evan Carr.
yeah.
We did a show with him and that for one of the events. We played that like youth retreat
Yeah, that was fun.
where they had a mini golf course,
It
and
was
not the kind of
a
mini golf course that you would think.
mini golf, I think is what we called it. Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah, multiple bands.
Yep. Many different iterations of, yeah.
But like the same people almost every time.
Honestly, yeah, a lot of the same people, and then just kind of different venue or different band name, or kind of switch a few people out or whatever. But
Yeah,
I do really miss that about college. But I'm happy to see, like I was
same.
saying before we started the call, I see a piano out, so glad
Oh
to see
man.
that you're playing again a little bit. I never have this guitar out, but I do have a guitar in the background too, so it's kind
I've
of
got my guitar's over there. I've got my guitar out here too.
nice. What guitar are you rocking these days?
It's a Seagull Entourage.
Okay,
Uh, it's like my favorite budget brand of guitar.
yeah, that's
They're
mine's
pretty
an
cheap
Alvarez.
guitars, but they have really good sound.
Yeah, I like. I'm a huge Alvarez fan. They're like
Yeah,
middle of the
they
line,
got
maybe
good
a little
sound
bit
too.
cheaper, but
Yeah.
I think their stuff sounds really good. I actually sold my Martin and bought an Alvarez. So if
You
that says
sold your
anything,
Martin for an Alvarez.
yep.
All right. What was that electric guitar that you were always playing in college? You still have that, the Gretzky, the Gretsch. It was a
Oh, the
Gretsch,
Gretsch.
right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
sold or I traded that for pedals. Yeah,
True guitarist over here.
yeah. I
Good
got
job.
that from a pawn shop in my hometown, and it was like two or $300 below uh like the new price or whatever. But then I think he gave me an additional discount on top of that. So it's just like, well, I wasn't planning on buying a guitar today, but okay. And then yeah, so then I traded that. Then I think I sold or traded those pedals. So it's like it's been a couple iterations now too of trades. But
That's great. Yeah, this keyboard is pretty new. I got this back in like January.
oh, okay.
It's not my Nord that I did have is still with my sister. I gave it to her a while ago because I just like stopped playing after college.
Hmm.
Just went like 5 years, 4 years without like touching a keyboard.
Whoa.
And then like a bunch of stuff, everything like went down with my marriage and everything. And so I was like needing something to do with my time. And I was going to every Monday night. There's this bar here that I would go to that had an open mic, and I would go listen to like the local guys play, and it really made me like want to play again. So I ended up getting a guitar again because I had no musical instruments anymore. I had like gotten rid of them all.
Oh wow.
But I got this guitar and then got this keyboard because I was just like wanting to play. Like it kind of came out. I was like, this will be a good outlet too. I was like, music is always kind of how I would express my emotions because being me, I always kind of repressed my emotions in every other aspect of life, but music kind of let it come out. And so I was like, this will be really good to have
Yeah.
and play. And it was very therapeutic, I would say, to be able to have a keyboard and just play.
Yeah, I actually did a very similar thing where I don't think I'm as confident or maybe good. That's a weak word though, but I don't I don't prefer expressing myself, especially a difficult emotion like anger, disappointment, something like that. I wouldn't prefer to speak about it. I'd either
Right.
like to write it down or play it through song. And there's
Same.
something about that it's still cathartic, like I'm still expressing myself. And it almost feels like you're turning that difficult pain or idea or whatever into something that like could help someone else or myself, or it's there's something about that that's like taking the bad thing and like wrestling it and then like making it work, do something good,
Right.
but
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I had actually like posted a few videos. I made like 3 covers that I did that I ended up posting online too.
are they on YouTube?
They're on Instagram and TikTok.
Okay, sweet. I'll have to check. I don't have TikTok, but I do have Instagram, so I'll have
Yeah,
to
I
check
think
that
we're
out.
friends on Instagram. But yeah, they're
Oh,
they're
are we?
all on there. I think. I don't know. Shouldn't we be?
I'll look you up afterwards if
Yeah.
we're not. I'm not. I have like 200 friends. I'm not like that.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
the same. Like which we probably aren't friends because we're probably both the type that we only like have other people friend request
Yeah,
us and we accept them.
right.
Like
Totally.
I'm not sending out any. If you wanna see my page, like you have to friend request me.
Right. Right. That's funny. But no, so I think like music's been coming back into your life. I think that's awesome. And
Yeah.
I I want to get back and do it a little bit more. Like I've been playing a little bit, like kind of here and there, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's still. We had talked. I don't remember. This might have been on the last podcast. Maybe it was just on a call or something. But it's a lot easier when you have a community of people that are also interested
Yeah.
in playing
It
music, because
is.
then it happens more naturally. I've actually thought about it. It's interesting you brought up the open mic because I thought about going. Nate Urban, if you remember him,
Oh yeah.
him and I would go in Indy. We would go to some open mic nights and just play original tunes and just kind of like talk with people or whatnot. But I have not been good about that since we've been in Fort Wayne. So I I'm half tempted to just kind of go out one night and just try it and see what happens. But
You
I'm
should.
also like rusty, and so I'm like kind of have that in my head, like, oh, I should practice more. But then I don't practice
No,
unless
I
I have a
get it.
reason to like play. So
Okay. We can
but
probably both agree that you're 10 times better at least like playing guitar than I am. And I went and played that open mic like back
no
in
kidding.
February. Yeah, I played a 3-song set. Just
Any
covers. I didn't
originals?
have no
Okay,
originals.
nice. That's I still getting out and doing it though. And
Yeah.
was it any I know, so you have a wide range of music that you listen to, and
Uh-huh.
a ton of random very good artists. Were there any songs that uh you would recommend, or that you played, or that are were they all kind of like deep finds, or whatnot?
No, they were basically like I went back to my high school days of listening to like indie folk music because that was
Right on.
always probably like the easiest to play on a guitar. Again, I'm not very good at guitar, and so it's very limited. A lot of the people that I listen to now are just like very technical and weird
Sean.
musicians that are playing, yeah, like Sean, Jacob Collier, all these like just like jazz musicians. I'm like, I can't play jazz chords on a guitar. I'm not that good. I can't do like I can only play like major and minor chords. Can't add any sevenths or anything in there. I don't know how to do that. If it was piano, it's different. That's kind of also why I got the keyboard, but I haven't performed with the keyboard yet.
Do they have the
But
option there, or would you have to bring your own?
I would have to bring my own, unfortunately, and lug it all over there. And this is like a
Yeah.
full size 88 key
Oh, is it?
keyboard. It's considered like ultra slim, but it's still a like not the best travel keyboard.
Yeah, that's the thing too with even playing electric guitar was what I would predominantly play in college, and all that lugging your amp, your pedals, your
Yeah.
guitar. It's like just not. The acoustic guitar is the best. You just bring it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have the direct line for you to just
Yeah.
plug in.
Plug it
All
in.
right, I'm going. It's like
Yeah.
pretty
Super
easy,
nice.
but yeah.
Yeah.
So music, and I do have to point out. I said this before the call. I love the Jesse Four poster in the
Yeah.
background. I had Nate, who I was mentioning before, on the podcast, and we talked a little bit about his album, but I was just so impressed with the amount of genres and the blending of all these
Mm-hmm.
things so seamlessly. But I wasn't sure if you also had maybe recent albums you had listened to and would recommend, or wanted to talk about that one in
Yeah.
particular. But
That one is the one I've definitely put the most time into. uh and I went and like saw Jacob Collier live in Atlanta with my brother and my nephew. My nephew is like 6 years old, and that was his first like legitimate concert, like show. Like he's seen like local, like small shows, like free
Yeah.
shows, but this was his first like paid big venue show, and we really set the bar high for this little guy.
I was
Like
about to say, I was
Jacob
like,
Collier show for his first show.
I don't know if it gets much better than that. I've
You
seen his stuff on YouTube, a little bit of the live stuff, but I haven't been to a show. I'd love to go though, but
need to. He he's just a good performer, like really good musician, but also just a good performer.
yeah, he
Really,
seems
really
down
good
to
show.
earth too. I saw him on, I'm blanking on the guy's YouTube channel now, but the bearded European guy, very nice. He's a good guitar player, breaks down a lot of kind of like why this chord progression in a song works
Yeah.
kind of guy. But he had Jacob on, and Jacob just seems so willing to learn, because he's just started playing guitar. And so that guy's been playing for years and would say, oh, I would do this instead of that, and like little things. Although the way Jacob plays with the 5 string and the tuning is like
Yeah, it's
so
strange.
unique, but and it's so cool. I think it sounds so amazing when he
Mhm.
plays electric. Like I haven't listened to a lot of his other uh works or projects or anything, but this one I was hooked in immediately with like well, that song.
Yeah.
And
Well's really good.
yeah, that one rocks. And even like She Puts Sunshine, I love the guitar in that one too.
That one's
That's a
fun
fun
and
one.
poppy. I listened to that one a lot. I think the one I listened to the most was Bridge Over Troubled Waters.
Oh
I
really, the
listened to that
acapella?
song, yeah,
Yeah.
over and over and over again. The vocals in it, which is like all that's in it, is so good. And
And
his
you can't go
layering of
wrong.
his own
It's
voice.
Tori Kelly and
John
John Legend.
Legend
Yeah.
and oh man, Yeba. Yeba's
Oh,
the
is
first
Yeba in there
voice.
too?
Yeah. So that first part of Bridge Over Troubled Waters was originally Yeba had that cover, and Jacob probably got permission to use that audio, and then he used that in his own song. So that first
Whoa.
vocalist is Yeba, yeah.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
But that song is so good. And that first one that sounds like the intro to like some 80s movie. I already forget what it's called, and then ends with like a screamo
Screamo.
section.
Yes. Oh, I love that one. I think if that's 100,000 voices, maybe.
Yeah, I
Because it
think that's
starts
like the
out like,
first one.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man, that whole album's so good.
I'm probably going to re-listen to it after we get off this call now because it came out in March, I think.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I listened to it like too much in March and April. And then May, I kind of pumped the brakes. But I think June now I'm ready to kind of get back into it. But um,
Yeah, actually
yeah.
one of the videos I posted was a cover of a song from that album.
No kid, which song was it?
Oh man, I don't know why I can't think of what it's called right now.
Just because you're on the spot, maybe.
I know. I was trying to think of it earlier. I was like, I can't remember what that one song is. It's the one that I listened to a bunch. It got released before the album. Uh,
Oh, Wherever You Go?
Wherever I go. Yeah.
Wherever I Go. Yeah.
Wait. No, that's a different one. I listened to that one a lot.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
Uh, oh goodness, it's gonna bother me, so I'm just gonna.
Is it the Shawn Mendes one?
Yeah, yeah.
What's that one called?
Right? Why can't I think of it?
Witness Me.
Witness Me is what it is
Yeah.
called. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
one. That's one of the covers that I did.
Oh, I love that song. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay, okay. When I'm off the podcast, I'm gonna follow you on Instagram. I'm gonna listen to your version, and then I'm gonna listen to Jacob's
There
album
you
right
go.
after.
That's the
And
plan.
yeah, yeah, that's so cool. No, but yeah, so that's been a good one. I'm not sure. Do you care at all for the 21 Pilots stuff?
Oh, do they have new stuff? I don't think I've listened to 21 Pilots since
Blurry Face, bro.
college. Yeah, Blurry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The last, I'm not the biggest fan. Like I don't know. They have a bunch of lore and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't follow all that stuff closely. But this last album they released, I think is like pretty good. It's probably more like pop than some of their early stuff, but the storyline throughout that album is kind of interesting, I think. So
Cool.
that's been another one.
I love
That's
that.
kind of been, yeah, been
I
liking.
I used to have to, for one of the classes in school, I wrote what we called a cultural exegesis, and I did it over Hiatus Coyote's uh Choose Your Weapon album.
Okay.
Have you listened to that album before?
No,
You have you listened to Hiatus Coyote at all?
I've not heard of
Oh
Hiatus
yeah,
Coyote.
everyone that's listening to you guys need to check out Hiatus Coyote. It's like a jazz R&B
Oh,
weird
sweet.
fusion
Is
music.
it adjacent to like a Wolfpack or something?
Less groovy. They have some
Yeah.
like their music's mostly like heavier almost.
Okay. Not as much like clean tones. Like,
It's got more soul to it.
okay.
Yeah,
Sweet.
that rhythm and blues plus like a jazz. But yeah, it's really they're all really good musicians and the lead singer is amazing.
Right on.
But yeah,
I'm
everyone
glad
needs
we
to
have it
check them
recorded
out.
in this because then now I can be like, what was that band that
Yeah,
Ryan
you
was
could go
talking
back
about?
and hear it.
Hiatus Cody. So
Yeah.
no, that's awesome, man. And since we're kind of on this topic too of like music and that sort of thing, I think books is a natural segue. Like,
Yeah.
what have you kind of been reading lately, and what's been stoking your mind?
Sure. Yeah. Um, I've been reading so in also in school I got introduced to the series of books that are printed by Oxford Press called Very Short Introductions. They're like these here, really quick.
Yeah, no, let's see it. I love that. There's so many times where someone started talking about a book and then been like, actually, it's just.
Actually, it's just right over here. I've got a few of these, but they're like these really thin, small little books, but each one has like a topic. This one's philosophy. They find an expert in a field and they have to write a super dense, like basically like what you learn in a 101 course about something like it's a very short introduction to a whole field of study, but they like try to
Interesting.
cram in a bunch of information. So most recently, I read one on cognitive neuroscience, and I read one on just time in general.
Oh, I would
Both
be curious to
really
pick your brain.
interesting.
Neuroscience, I don't think I can really wrap my mind
Yeah,
around, pun
me neither.
intended. But the time one, I'm in. Like, what kind of stuff did they include in that book?
Like the first half of it was like going off a history of people's conception of time and how like people thought of time throughout time.
Yeah.
And like going through like Newton's discoveries and then to Einstein, which Einstein has the most well-known kind of theories revolving around time called general relativity and special relativity. And I, if any professors of this or people that know this topic would hear me talk about it, they're gonna be like, "You're an idiot." But uh, basically, like he found out or like propose that like time is intertwined with space itself, that there's not two separate things. Like space time is all it is. Like time's not this just like linear thing, but actually is warped by space and gravity and everything. So in like
Whoa.
velocity, like he said that if someone was like moving at the speed of light, what would feel like a year for them if they did that for a year would be like 10 years on Earth or something. Like time is relative based on different factors. It's not just some set concrete thing.
Whoa.
Super weird. Have you seen
So
Interstellar?
yes, yeah,
That has that idea of relativity, how like when they went to that planet that like apparently had a big gravitational field or something, that water planet, and they
yes.
came back and he had been waiting on the ship for like 20 years or something, and it had only been a few hours for them. Like that is based on this theory of relativity that is a legitimate scientific theory.
Whoa,
Pretty crazy.
that's unreal.
Oh yeah, and like his kids grew up before him, like because time is experienced different based on space.
Yeah.
They're intertwined.
Whoa. and that, so the whole time is almost, I let me know if I'm kind of getting this,
Yeah.
but time is almost the result of gravity and space working against each other, kind of, or with each other, however you want to
Yeah,
think
like
about that.
yeah, because they're like time and space are intertwined so much they can't be thought of as separate things.
So if a planet,
Space is time, time is space. Like
so if the planet had a stronger gravitational pull, time would be moving slower, like compared to
yeah,
Earth.
like everyone experiences it the same way, but it's relative to other people that could be experiencing it. Like relative to me, like someone could be moving slower, going through time slower or faster, but to them it's just the same experience. I'm just moving slower to them. It's all about relativity and how we perceive it, and we're in it.
Wow. Yeah, that, you know what? So, because I think when we're on Earth, all of us humans, we're experiencing a very similar thing,
Right.
regardless of kind of where you are. But the whole traveling to different planets and that whole idea is really fascinating, because that's when it would be potentially a lot different, and we'd be able to test, well, I guess these Einstein theories have been proven, but
Yeah.
I also think it's odd that I forget where I was reading this, or maybe it was a podcast I was listening to. There hasn't been much advancement since like Einstein, Oppenheimer, those big cats. And when there's this real high concentration on um, physics and that whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't feel like there's been a lot of advancement in the field. Did they talk about that in the book at all?
Not a whole lot. I think it's just a lot more of just testing the same things with newer technology, newer
Technology.
advancements. Like we're able to prove it in different ways or find like weird exceptions. Like they're
Okay.
still figuring out stuff, like there was the whole dark matter thing of just
Dude,
like,
that one's fascinating.
but they took it back and like aren't even calling it dark matter anymore. They're calling it uh I forget what they're calling it, but they don't consider it matter anymore.
Because it was like a majority of the galaxy, or not even the galaxy, but like the whole solar system, the whole, like everything that's out there. There was like something like an upwards of 90% was considered to be dark matter at one point, I thought.
Right. It's like they at first was conceived based on like them finding gravitational fields where there wasn't like anything there. It's like
Yeah.
you need mass for there to be gravity. How can there be gravity here without mass? And it was kind of just this vague term. I think it's still kind of just vague, but
Yeah.
that's super interesting. There's still a lot of stuff that we just don't know that people are still trying to figure out.
Which I think is awesome. Like I love that there's still so much to explore, especially in the ocean or in outer
Oh,
space.
absolutely.
Obviously, most of the land mass of this planet we've documented, have maps pretty in pretty good detail, with probably a few exceptions. But this whole, I mean, outer space, and just you mentioning the gravitational pull that dark matter could have, it's like, well, what would happen if you tested that? Like if something, like if you put something else in that vicinity, would it feel the weight of that? Is it like,
Like, how
it's
does
just
that
like,
work?
yeah, how does that work? And I mean, there's a lot smarter people than me out there probably deducing this with math, like what would happen and figuring it out that way. But I mean, it would be super cool to find out a way to like test that, to
Right.
what is this stuff,
I mean, I still like feel like none of it can even be explained really. Like, how can there be a force that pulls everything into it, like everything?
like a
Like
black hole kind of.
magnets, like just gravity in general,
Oh,
like
okay.
it has an effect on all mass. What kind of a force is that? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. Is it, does it have to do with there is a like an atmosphere, right, in Earth? So does it have to do with the, is it beyond that? Because obviously when you get out of our atmosphere, there's like less gravity or no gravity,
Right.
potentially.
Right, because
But
you're farther away from the earth, a big ball of mass that's caught that's creating it. Yeah.
yeah. So
But yeah,
so the
people experience
atmosphere,
time differently just out in space outside of Earth. They've already proven that.
But isn't it, sorry, I do want to go
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
but
yeah.
with the whole um the gravity, so help me understand, it's Earth that's creating, it's not the atmosphere?
Uh, Gravity is what creates the atmosphere itself, holding all the air in.
Oh, the Aaron. Okay. So it's
Like, I
even
think
if
it's based
beyond the
on.
atmosphere, even.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I'm not an expert. I read very short introductions. I, uh, but I'm pretty sure the atmosphere is caused because of the gravitational field that is caused by mass. Like it was just like more mass equals more gravity.
Okay.
I at one point could have told you the formula for calculating gravitational force when I was back in taking physics classes in college. Couldn't
I
tell you now.
I have actually confession time. I have never taken a physics class.
Good. They're terrible. I took physics 1 twice because I was just so good at it. I took it 2 times.
It
It
seems
was,
like one of those, it's very math heavy, right?
it's it's very like there's math involved in it, yes, but it's mainly just like you have to break down your conceptions of how things work because how things actually work are like different than what you would think.
And that's, I mean, this
And
is a very simple example, I think, but the whole was it Galileo dropping the ball of the different mass, but they fell at the same rate? Is that
right, yeah,
okay?
like that whole thing where because it's all if there's no air resistance, if you're in a vacuum,
Right,
like
right.
a feather will fall as fast as a bowling ball.
Crazy.
Like things just accelerate at the same speed. there's a
Man.
there's a lot of weird physics things. I get a lot of physics stuff on my TikTok, like For You page too, of just like people doing weird things. Like physics is so strange.
Yeah, that's awesome. I never took, and it's funny because I'm really, I think I found out maybe in college, but definitely after. Like, I'm really interested in psychology. Never took a psychology class in school, or like
Mm.
philosophy. I love philosophy. Never took a philosophy class, and like I didn't really have one offered either. And maybe that's a whole other issue about budget cuts in schools, and
Well, and just
the
like certain curriculums on like just thinking it's not necessary to have because everyone's just focused on really career. Like
yeah,
school is for career, whereas like you could be learning stuff that's like good just for your life.
that's the
Like
way
philosophy is good for your life.
I've always kind of, I wouldn't have had this term when I was younger, but I've always liked the idea of like the Renaissance man who can, like, I've always wanted to be able to like write songs, but then also like play hockey. And like, I want to do a lot of different things. I don't like our, maybe it's our economy that makes us this way, or just the limited time that we have on earth. We like to become very specialized at one thing, and
Yeah.
then we make all of our money doing that. It reinforces the idea of being very specialized, but you don't get rewarded as much for being someone that has a deep well of multiple areas that you're like interested in. And
Yeah. Tell me about it.
yeah,
Annoying.
it's less because you have to invest more time too, right? Than the person that gets specialized. It's like after a certain point, they don't need to keep investing that same amount of time. Whereas, like for me, I'm gonna be interested in playing guitar today. I'm gonna be interested in doing a house project tomorrow, and like I'm gonna have to spend different amounts of time, kind of learning the skills to do those things, um, or in guitar, what's dangerous with that, or music in general, is when you get into a flow, which I actually had a guest on a couple weeks, maybe it was a month ago now, and we talked about the flow of how even right now this conversation we could be in a flow and
Mhm.
an hour's already passed by, but it doesn't feel like an hour's passed by. When I'm at work for an hour, that's very different than me and you on this call for an hour. And um, it's, I don't know, it's just I like getting into a flow, and I think having a wide range of things that you're interested in. gives you that opportunity to kind of like, I don't know, it's fulfilling to me from like an internal standpoint, even if I'm not being like an intrinsic value. Like even if I'm not being rewarded extrinsically for doing it,
Yeah.
I'm still gonna probably keep playing guitar and doing this podcast and whatever my other hobbies are at the time, because it's just I feel such a reward for that, even if other people, the world, whoever aren't going to necessarily appreciate that.
Yeah. I think my like array of interests, how like I like a variety of things too. I think mine spawned from something else. I think mine spawned from like probably just like social anxiety in general, and the fact that the more different things I do, the more likely I'll have something to relate to people on and be able to talk to them about.
That's a
Uh,
very pragmatic way of like looking at it, you know?
yeah, and so I watch a lot of different movies and TV shows and listen to a lot of different genres of music. I've done a bunch of different like hobbies like rock climbing and break dancing. Like just weird stuff. And it's not like I think I'm gonna find many people that can break dance, but it gives something to like talk about. And I like experiencing different things.
Yeah. Because I mean, there are so many kids that played football or basketball or whatever, but you know, it's like everybody's doing that. If I do breakdancing or like mine was hockey, it's like, oh, that's not what everyone else is doing. Like, why are you doing it? Almost might invite people to be like, why,
Exactly.
why are you doing that? And you're like, I just like doing it. I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
no, it's really fascinating, I think. Like,
yeah.
why do we
And
like the
going
things that
to
we like?
yeah, and going to college and having like at the beginning of classes like icebreakers and stuff because we went my classes were like at most 20 people, and a lot of times I had less than that in my Bible department classes. So like every class we'd have like some icebreaker thing where you'd have to say something about yourself or whatnot, and so it's fun having some weird things to be able to put in there into your two truths and a lie. Makes it hard for
Yeah.
people.
Yep. I I always liked doing that too because my mom had pierced my ear in college, and she pierced my ear and my friend's ears on one winter break because one of the guys wanted to do it, and so she's like, "Oh, I'll just do it so I know it's safe and like it's done correctly," because he tried doing it himself and was like bleeding a lot, and
Yeah.
so like she did that, and then I'm like, I always have an answer for like two truths and a lie that'll throw people off. You know, it's like.
Yeah.
Like, who's gonna believe not only that I got my ear pierced, but my mom was the one that did it at like 2 a.m. You know, I'm
Right.
like, so
Do you still have it pierced?
no. Oh, it got
Uh,
infected like that week,
oh.
and because I never truly even wanted it. So like it got infected, and I took it out like maybe a week later, maybe less. Like it was on winter
Yeah.
break in college. I never actually wore it to school.
Man, it's a bummer.
What could have been, right?
Yeah. I got last year I got three piercings just down
Oh,
here.
right on.
Nice little rings going on.
I couldn't see it. Yeah, because we got the
No, my
headphones on.
headphones
But
cover it, but I like them.
had you pierced your ears before, or was that the first time?
Yeah, I had an industrial at one point, like the bar that goes across the top of your ear.
Oh, but not. I was thinking of the gauge. I think, but that's in the lobe, right?
Yeah, so these are
Lower.
my
Yeah.
first like earlobe piercings, but I had
Okay.
that cartilage piercing, the industrial, for like a year
Right on.
right out of high school. My high school didn't allow you to like grow your hair out, have facial hair, have like piercings or tattoos, and
Yep.
so that
That's
was
how
one of the first
ours
things I did was got my ear pierced.
ours was the same way. You couldn't um no facial hair. Probably yeah. Probably like no piercings or tattoos, and you had to wear a uniform, so I hated that. Even though it was pretty lax looking back on it, like it's like a polo shirt and like khaki shorts, or something. But the
Yeah.
rebel in me at the time was like, oh, I don't like, I
Right.
didn't like that ever. And now I wear it to work every day, but
Yeah, it's just getting you prepared for where you're
just
gonna
yeah,
go for
just
the
get me
rest of your
ready.
life.
But that whole first year after, I just well, I grew out my facial hair. It looked terrible. I'm not like you're rocking a beard right now. I can't do any of that stuff. But that first year out, because you're like, I couldn't do it for 4 years, so now I just want to try and like see.
Okay.
And it didn't work out. But yeah, I also did the like I even to this day, like I'm wearing athletic shorts now and like a comfortable shirt. I don't really like wearing jeans and stuff like that for a long period of time. But yeah, the
Yeah.
small Christian
I didn't.
school
Yeah.
rules, right?
Yeah. We didn't have uniforms, thankfully, just like a dress code, which was super lax on the guys and really strict on the girls.
Oh,
Like
it
they
was
just,
more lax on the guys, you said?
yeah, they didn't really care as long as you weren't wearing sweatpants to school.
We had a lot of girls that would wear, I think it was like leggings or something. Like that was when that was starting to get popular or whatever. And I
Yeah.
think that was one of the gray areas where they're like, wait, is that sweatpants? You know, or like it was one of those kind of things. Um, but yeah, I overall like I love my experience, but there was like the rules and some of the rules and stuff like that just kind of uh what's the word? Seemed a little much, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I didn't necessarily agree with them all.
Yeah.
Like, I know what they were trying to do. I just think it was poor practice for some of it. Like, you don't need to have all those rules. It might actually make it worse by being more strict.
Yeah,
Very balanced.
that's the age old question too of like, you know, like if there's a behavior that you don't, because I'm very interested in incentives, almost from like an economist
Yeah.
standpoint, where it's like, okay, I want like say I'm an employer or I'm running a school, whatever it is, I want a certain behavior out of like the people that I'm leading or that I'm administrating in charge of. Like, how do I best encourage that behavior?
Right.
And yeah, it's like
That's
sometimes
the, yeah,
the rules
100.
or incentives or whatnot don't they don't make sense logically to like get the outcome that they want. You know,
Right.
and to your point, it might actually lead to the opposite. You might get more of the undesirable thing that you're trying to like curb had you not had the role. So
Right. That whole topic, I don't think there's a solid solution to it because I think everyone finds different things motivating, like motivational.
yeah,
To motivate, you can't have one sort of incentive that's going to motivate everybody.
yeah. And that's
And
why it's tough to write
yeah,
rules and you know,
yeah.
yeah.
And what motivates one person, the other person is going to be upset that that's the thing because they don't care about
Yeah.
it. So they're like
It's
not getting anything out of it, or like, yeah, it's
oh
almost a
there
person by person basis for incentives or behavioral conditioning.
there's this great quote that is right along the line of what you're or no, what's the book called? Uh I can't find it. I thought I had written it down in my phone, but it was basically along the lines of like we ask too much. I think it's about the government, but you could say it of other people too. It's like we ask too much of leadership, government, whoever, but without being willing to do a you know like a single thing ourselves.
Right.
You know, we want all the benefit, but we don't want to like uh you know put any skin in the game basically or whatnot. But
Yeah.
yeah, man. Well, is there anything else you wanted to talk about or like on your mind or
Uh, I mean, not necessarily. The only other stuff I'm into is just really nerdy stuff.
like anime or like any like
Yeah, like I've
anything?
been reading a lot of manga recently. I just bought a Wii, put custom firmware on it, downloaded a bunch of games, and can run whatever GameCube and Wii games I want on this
Oh,
thing.
nice. Right
Pretty
on.
cool.
Yeah.
Uh, Other than that, I can me and my sister, uh, it started over like New Year's when I went over there. I found out they had been playing like the New York Times mini crossword. Her and my brother-in-law, her husband, were like doing that every day. And so since then, me and my sister just like every day have been sending each other our like time for the
Yeah.
mini crossword. and it's scaled up to now we're sending the mini crossword time, our Wordles, and the connections is another one in that
Oh
app.
yeah.
Just like if you scroll back through me and my sister's text history, it's just like back and forth of just all of those things. I
I've
really enjoy
gotten real into I love the connections.
connections. I've gotten much better. I was really terrible at it at first. Now I know. I think I'm figuring out how it works.
Yeah, oh, I was so bad. I still am not like great, I would say, but I love trying to figure them out because sometimes you'll miss it and be like, oh, I should have gotten that. But then there are other times where I'm like, I would have never gotten that.
What?
Like, yeah, it's like doesn't make any sense. Um, but yeah, Wordle's good, and I like doing Sudoku too on the
Yeah, me too. I
yeah.
like that.
But I can
That's
only
fun.
really handle like easy and maybe medium, but I'm not. But it's just fun to do, give your brain a little break, kind
Oh,
of thing. But
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
right
Yeah,
on,
I've
man.
been needed to do more. Like, I haven't been playing my keyboard as much as I was. I kind of been wanting to do that more, but I was trying to like actually get better and not just like learn songs, but actually like get better at playing. And so I was like practicing scales every day after work, and I was getting
Yeah.
tired of practicing my scales, and I've stopped. Need to get back to it. Scales are dumb. There's
uh,
too many.
songs are good. I think when you're learning, and it, like if I were to play piano, I didn't realize you can actually see mine right there too.
Yeah.
But like if I wanted to, because I'm not good at the piano, but I like it. If I wanted to get into it, it's like I would have to have a song. So then that's my motivation to learn to play it. But
Right.
then for like guitar, since I've been doing that for so long, it'd be so tedious for me if like I don't I seldom will sit down and just learn a song to learn a song. Because I'm like, I'd rather play the scales or like
Right. Get to a
try to
point where you
create
can,
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
make it your own, make it your like actually understand how music works and like be able to create things that blend together and move together in the ways that you want them to. I want to be able
Yeah.
to do that.
And that's been my sole motivation from when I first started taking lessons, maybe in like 11 years old or so. It was always like, okay, I'll learn the songs, but I want to learn how to like make my own song. I don't really care to like I like because a lot of kids when I was growing up, especially guitar players, electric guitar players, it'd be like everyone was playing the "Sweet Child of Mine" riff.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing that, and then I would just be like trying to like write a song, and like fumbling with power chords and like trying to write the tablature out and trying to write the chords down and the words and like all that stuff. But yeah,
Yeah. Much more fun.
yeah. It is indeed. The fun never stops, but unfortunately, the podcast is wrapping up for now. So,
Mhm.
Ryan, I want to thank you again so much for coming on and just hanging with me for a bit and talking about. I mean, we covered a variety of different things. So, yeah, thanks so much for your time and being a guest again on the
Oh,
show.
absolutely. Well, we'll have to do a third time.
Oh yeah, I would love to do a
Keep
third
it
time.
going.
You're welcome back whenever, my friend.
Yeah.